Quick story, it kind of goes along with what Pastor Will was preaching about today. Last Sunday, I was in the Chevron. It was in the afternoon. It was after we got out of church. I'm not sure about what time it was, but I was in line, and Chevron was packed like it is sometimes on the weekends, and it seems like all the time. And so the line was like out past, I think I'd went in there to get my coffee, and it was past the coffee makers. It was this long line. And right in front of me was this beautiful older black lady. She was probably in her mid to late 60s. And so this is going to kind of be, I didn't even think about it again until this morning during worship. But anyway, she was standing in front of me, and she just turned around and looked at me and said, and she was dressed to the nine, obviously, well-dressed, had just come from church. And she looked at me and said, "Did you go to church today?" I said, "Actually, yes, ma'am, I did." And she said, "Oh, good. Where do you go to church?" And I said, "Well, we're at Overflow." She said, "Oh, yeah, I know where Overflow is." So anyway, she said, "Well, if you didn't go to church today, I was going to make sure that you had my name and my number, and you were going to come to church with me next Sunday if you didn't have a church." I mean, it was just pretty amazing. The boldness, that's going to be kind of our challenge today. So anyway, we had a great conversation while we were in line, and she told me how her husband, he's a pastor of a local church actually here, and how he wound up in Ellaville. And it was a pretty neat story. It was kind of very similar to Pastor Will and Pastor Micah's story. It was kind of, didn't ever think they'd wind up in Ellaville, Georgia. Had basically never heard of Ellaville, Georgia. But they wound up here, and her husband pastors a church here. So it was a neat story. But so this morning I was looking around, and I don't like to bring attention that there are empty chairs, but there are empty chairs, and every church in Sly County has empty chairs. Less than 30% of the population of Sly County and Sumter County go to church. So there's lots and lots and lots of lost people available here for us. So I was praying, God, send them to us. God, send us families with children that have never heard of God. And God looked at me and said, "Who'd you bring to church today?" Uh-oh. And it reminded me of that story of that beautiful black lady that I spoke with last Sunday. I'm a man, and there's lots of men in here, and I could look at Al. Al's a big old guy, and he's going to say, "I ain't scared of nothing." I say, I'm not scared of anything. I say, "Look, I ain't scared. There's not a man I'm scared of or whatever." But are we brave enough to walk up to somebody and say, "Did you go to church today?" I'm not, or I should be, but I don't. I don't walk in the Chevron and so the next person in line behind me and say, "Did you go to church today?" I don't do it. Never have done it. But maybe we should. That lady was bold. She was braver than than I've ever been. And it was awesome. And so that's the challenge I would like to make, is it's not about filling seats in the church. It's not about getting tithing families in here. It's getting people here to hear the word of God so we can be the light for these people. So I just challenge you all. I challenge myself. Let's be bold this week. I mean, it's getting up on Christmas time. There are a lot of people that are by themselves. Like I said, less than 30% of the population of Sly and Sumter County, and that's just the two closest counties right here, go to church every Sunday. So if you say, "I don't know anybody that doesn't go to church," you're lying to yourself and you're lying to whoever you're talking to. Because I know people that don't go to church. You know people that don't go to church. Let's get them here. Let's get them here. Let's be their light. Let's give them the opportunity to see the light of the Lord. And that's all I've got.